Hey guys, sorry for that false start and sorry to be a little bit late. Of course, I'm never, ever late, but you know, we're here, we made it. There were technical difficulties getting the stream started, but we got there and we got a lot to talk about today. Welcome to The Cult. The Cult is a show that I do Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk about what is going on in the world and really anything that I feel like talking to. And yes, Kieran Williams, the manifesto is out in the public. That's what we're going to be focusing on heavily today. We are going to be focusing on the Nashville Shooter Manifesto, and you can actually download the full manifesto on my Substack. I just put up the summary of it a little bit earlier. This is something that you guys can refer to as we're going to basically going over this stuff and talking about what I think are some of the key parts in the manifesto. I did read the whole thing. That's what I've been doing basically for the day. I read the whole thing and I typed out the passages for people. I put a thread up on Twitter. I put this on Substack because a lot of it is actually very difficult to read. Not difficult in that the subject matter is difficult, but it's just like the handwriting is hard to read. Also, the newspaper that released it put these stars over it that made it difficult to read, stuff like that. So I retyped what I think are the important parts, but if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this article, you can actually download the full manifesto. They made me give them my email address. Wait, is the sound crackling? All right. Okay. Sit tight. I'll be right back. I know exactly what I need to do. Hang on. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Is it still crackling? Is it still crackling? Is the sound better now? Is it better now? I hate everyone and everything. I hate technology. I hate it so, yeah, it's fixed. Yeah, it's fixed. Yep. Okay, well, we made it. We made it. Let me just get my setup. Basically, every time that happens, all I have to do is, it's not actually my microphone, it's my browser. It's Chrome. Chrome is what's doing it. And so anytime that happens, I have to reload Chrome. So Steven Crowder did get a hold of the manifesto back in the day, and he released a few pages of it, but now the full manifesto has been released from start to finish, and I'm sure someone is going to be getting into trouble for that. But I did read the full thing this morning, and I wanted to talk about it. Let me just make sure, get this one last thing up. Hang on. Sorry. Now everything is running slow because I had to restart. Okay, hang on. I'm just getting one more thing up here. One more thing. Bing, bang, boom. There we go. All right, we're back. Hey, thank you for the compliments on the long hair. I do appreciate it. I have decided that I'm basically going to grow my hair out to my ass. And I'm just like, maybe even beyond, maybe like, who knows? I just never want to cut my hair again. I had a shaved head. I didn't shave the top of my head, but I shaved the sides of my head for years and years and years. I've had short hair. This is probably as long. Here, let's just take, before we talk about mass murder, let's take a moment to talk about me. Shall we? Because I'm an Aries, I'll do what I want. This is as long as my hair has been for probably 20 years. For a really, 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 really long time. This is old? Really? I'm just pretending? Really? Are you sure? Are you sure I'm pretending? How am I responding to you if I'm pretending? Are you going to come in here and invent conspiracy theories for us? Is that what we're going to do here today, bro? What's your IQ? Are you smart enough to be here? Are you smart enough to be here? Probably not. Probably not. So this is as long as my hair has been, in probably 20 years. I used to have just like, I always cut my hair short just because like it was easier to deal with. And then after I got married, I shaved the sides of my head and I just kept it on like long on top. And finally my husband was like, Carlin, can you grow out your hair? And I was like, I was like, Victor, it is a sign of how much I love you that I'm growing out my hair. Because I'll tell you what, it took about 2 years to get my hair to grow past the awkward stage of growing out hair. And that was a lot. That was like a big commitment. But you know what? Now we're there. I have not had a haircut in 2 years. You can tell by these split ends. And I'm never cutting it again. We're done. I am never cutting my hair again. It's just going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And I like that it's messy. I feel like it's punk. I like it. All right. Okay, so now we're actually going to go back to more important things to talk about than my hair. Guys, please make sure you mount the like button for me. Please make sure you are subscribed on whatever platform you are watching on, whether that be YouTube or Rumble or Kick or X, or whatever you would like to watch on. And we're going to be talking today about the Nashville Shooter Manifesto. Let me just get my setup here. Let me get my fancy setup. Bing. There we go. There we go. Has anyone here actually read this morning? Excuse me? You think you can come into my chat and tell me to shut the fuck up? How do you think that's going to work out for you, bro? As a reminder, this is not a chat where we shitpost. This is not in a chat where we insult people. I have rules on my channel. You will follow my rules or you will be removed off of my channel. The rules are that don't be a dick. Number 1, don't be a dick. Number 2, no fucking whining. I don't want to hear about it. Let me see. Which one? That one's probably for the best. And so no, bro, no, you will not be insulting me on my own channel. So now you're gonna get put in a timeout, and if you come back and try to insult me again, then you're gonna get removed. So you looks like some people read my breakdown of it. You read the article, not the manifesto. You know, here's my general thoughts about the manifesto, and we're gonna go into it. Here's my general thoughts. I think that if there is any takeaway that I would like people to have, or that I took away from this, is that I think that this was a sad thing that probably could have been prevented. I don't know that I believe that this was exceptionally politically motivated, although it is fairly obvious to me that Audrey Hale was interested in radical politics. The reason I say it's obvious that she was interested in radical politics is that she did actually mention radical politics. Radical means far left in this context. She also did mention being queer. She didn't say in the manifesto that she was, but I think that she probably was. But I think the bigger problem is that she's autistic. She says over and over and over again in the manifesto she's autistic. I think that my top line analysis on the manifesto is I think she was a lesbian. I think she liked girls. I think that she was autistic, which means she was probably being specifically targeted for gender ideology information in different ways, because we know we've seen it many times on this channel. If you go to my Substack and you look up autistic, we have seen multiple instances, and I'll just pull these up, multiple instances from the original autistic sex education that I infiltrated back at the beginning of 2023. We've seen them talk about specifically targeting autistic kids in that. We went inside the community colleges of California, like queer conference essentially earlier this year. And in that conference, they said that autistic is inherently queer biologically. And so we've seen repeated instances where society, people into far left politics, people into like queer theory, Marxism, stuff like that, they specifically talk about autism being related to queer. Why is my video doing this? God dang it. So I think actually the bigger issue here, now that my entire computer just seems to be rebelling against me for no good reason, let me just shut some stuff down here, guys, and see if that can actually help the quality of the video that we are experiencing right now. Because of course everything has to start going wrong as soon as I start the live stream. Everything is fine until I start the live stream, and then the moment I start the live stream, everything starts going wrong. There we go. We've seen multiple instances in which autism is directly linked to queer Marxism, to queer theory, to kids thinking they're genderqueer. So what I think happened is that this is an instance of a young girl who did not fit in, who felt awkward because she was autistic, who was a lesbian. She liked girls. It is undeniable that she liked girls. There's so much stuff in the manifesto about this. She convinced herself, what I think happened is she became fixated on gender because she was trying to rationalize in her head why she liked girls. And so she became fixated on gender, which happens with a lot of autistic kids. And in becoming fixated on gender, she convinced herself that she was actually a boy. And she talks throughout the manifesto about wishing she had a dick. She talked about sexual fantasies she had, in which she actually, like, and you guys are going to see this, she actually, like, used dolls to reenact her sexual fantasies, to where, like, the male doll would be fucking the female doll, and she made a special point to say, like, the male doll is me. But the reason that I don't think that Audrey was trans, and I think that this was a case of, like, Audrey convinced herself that she was trans, the reason that I don't think that she actually was is on the last page of the manifesto. Let me just scroll through. Let me just give you let me just show you this. This is why I don't think she was trans. On the last page of the manifesto, the last thing that she chose to write before she went and murdered a bunch of people was, "Remember me for the good things, Heart Audrey." If she was really trans, if she had really internalized the fact that she was a boy, if she really saw herself as a boy, she wouldn't have signed off using Audrey as her name. That's just that. This is the very last thing that you're going to write. The star is the stupid watermark from the Tennessee paper. The star means nothing. This is the last thing that you're going to write while you're alive. You have been writing for years. She calls herself by all sorts of names in this manifesto. She calls herself Aiden. She calls herself AE. She makes a point to call herself that throughout the entire thing. But the very last thing that she writes is her name is Audrey. So again, I don't think this was a case of her actually being trans. Now listen, when we get into queer theory, queer Marxism is a little confusing to people, because when we're talking about people identifying as queer, and Audrey does identify as queer in this manifesto. Audrey specifically identifies with engaging with radical politics in this manifesto. All right, you just got banned. Goodbye. Go somewhere else. Your privileges have been revoked. What did I say? This is, guys, listen, if you want to read the manifesto, just go download it. Read it yourself. That's really all that's required. But you will not have a hissy fit in my chat. This is my stream. I'll do what I want. See, this is why I usually just ban people outright. It's just like, this is what they do. And now I'm going to talk even more. Going back to what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted. Audrey absolutely did identify as queer. Audrey absolutely did identify as being involved in radical politics. She actually bemoaned that she couldn't, like, that she thought the United States was going to become a place where you can't be involved in radical politics. So she absolutely was on the far left. She bemoaned that her parents were too conservative to get her the puberty blockers that she needed. She felt as though puberty had put her into a prison that she couldn't escape from. When we're talking about queer as an ideology, a lot of people think that being queer means being gay or trans. And that's just not necessarily true. Anyone can identify as queer. You can be a straight, white, cisgendered man and identify as queer, because queer is not about an identity. Queer is not about a sexual orientation. Queer is not about any of those things. Queer is about a far left political ideology. It's about, there are no conservative queer people. We know this. We've studied, the queer anarcho-communists. We've watched more queer Marxism on my channel than pretty much anywhere else on the internet. We know this. However, there are, of course, trans people who identify as queer. There are, of course, gay people who identify as queer. I would argue that there are probably more gay and trans people that identify as queer that have no idea about the connotation with queer being a far left political ideology. But just because there are gay and trans people who identify as queer does not mean that queer is about being gay or trans. And so as we make our way through this, like what this manifesto read like to me as someone who was, again, had worked herself up to convince herself that she was a boy, but I don't actually think that she did see herself that way, because the last page is signed off with her female name. So whether or not she was really trans, I think that that's kind of like up in the air. I think it's undeniable that she liked girls. I think she was absolutely a lesbian. And I think this is one of those cases where she was trying to rationalize the fact that she liked girls by convincing herself that she must be a boy if she liked girls, because we know that far left ideology, far left politics is not exactly open and friendly and welcoming for lesbians these days. It's not actually welcoming for gay men either. It's not welcoming for gay men or for lesbians. So it's like one of those things where if you're someone that's involved in like far left politics and you're dabbling in that area, it is very, very clear to you that you're going to get more points for being quote unquote queer or trans. Well, she writes about liking girls throughout the entire thing. Are you serious? Human centipede. Like, okay, I feel like I need to admonish you a little bit. I feel like you've been hanging around with the Jack Posobiec crowd quite a bit, and you're allowed to do whatever you want. I feel like your understanding of this stuff is starting to nosedive the more you hang around the Jack Posobiec crowd. No offense. But literally throughout this entire manifesto, she talks about wanting to fuck girls. Throughout this entire manifesto, she talks about being in love with girls. So does she come out and say, I am a lesbian? No, she doesn't, because she convinced herself, because she's autistic and she's into far left queer politics, she convinced herself that she was a boy because she likes girls. It is undeniable that she likes girls. And so I don't actually need her to say, I am a lesbian in the manifesto, when I can read the manifesto and see that she obviously and clearly likes girls. Okay, all right. So I just admonished you for no reason. We actually agree. We actually agree. But okay, so okay, my bad. Although I do stand by that Jack Posobiec thing. I worry about how much time you're spending with Jack Posobiec, but that's okay. We all learn our lessons. It's clear she's a lesbian. I mean, she didn't see herself like that. No, but this is the point I'm making. This is a manifesto of someone who is deeply confused, deeply, like, I think is probably just, like, again, like, it's an autistic person that's gotten fixated on gender as the answer to everything. And if I just become a boy, then I'm going to be able to get girls. I mean, she says throughout the manifesto, like, I'm not, like she laments never being able to be loved because women want dick and stuff like that. And so it doesn't really matter if she saw herself that way or not. I think that's what she was, but she was trying to come to grips with, you know, just the whole situation. Anyway, we'll go into that more. My apologies, human centipede. We're still friends. I just don't like how much you're hanging around with Jack Posobiec. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Let's go back up to the start, guys. And by the way, let's just do a little shilling before we get into it. Guys, if you appreciate the work I'm doing, I hope you will consider subscribing to my Substack. If you were subscribed to my Substack, you literally already would have gotten this analysis in your inbox. You already would have gotten the analysis I did last night too, and this was just by pure coincidence. I wrote an article last night, part of the re-education series, basically explaining why being queer is not about being gay or trans. That came out last night. I hope you guys have had time to read it. This is part of the re-education series I'm doing on the Substack to bring people up to speed with everything the right should have taught them about the left, but they failed to because the conservative right doesn't really understand the left. So we're going back to basics. I'm doing a basic 101 level overview article series with short articles that are really quick, really to the point. You can see this takes less than like a couple minutes to read, just explaining different aspects politics of the left that you might not understand. I am doing a membership drive on my Substack. I'd like to get to 100 new members by the end of the month. We already have 17 new members signed up. When I say member, I mean people supporting the work I'm doing, because I'm 100% grassroots funded by you guys. And so I rely on your donations, your support for $8 a month, $80 a year over on the Substack to fund what I'm doing. I cannot do this without you guys. I would like to hit 100 new members. I think that'd be pretty great. That would keep me on track with where I want to be able to provide you guys with as much content as I possibly can. You do get a variety of membership perks when you sign up, including 2 Zoom calls with me every single week that are private, that are unrecorded. You get access to the supporter Discord, where we do movie nights every Sunday. We do writers group on Thursday. We do their impromptu movie nights. So there's all sorts of projects going on in the Substack. You also get a 10% off perpetual coupon in the Unwoke Art store. Other benefits as well. And of course, you do help fund things like this. So I really do appreciate it. So make sure you head over to the Substack if you appreciate what I'm doing and you want to see me keep doing it. Sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year. And I really would appreciate that. I also just want to let people know that it is Tuesday. And therefore, I will be doing a second stream tonight at 9 p.m. This is my Disenraged series, which normally we don't talk about politics and what's going on in the world. But because we have the Nashville Shooter Manifesto, there is actually an afterlife interview with Audrey Hale. So if you're not into spirituality and the woo-woo, this might not be the thing for you, but we watch stuff like channeled afterlife interviews. We talk about spirituality. We talk about like life choices and all sorts of woo-woo things. And so we will be watching the Audrey Hale afterlife interview at 9 p.m. tonight if you want to come back. Jennifer is on vacation this week, so I will be handling it myself, but I think it's going to be really interesting and really timely. And listen, some of the afterlife interviews that we've listened to on this channel, like, they've been really accurate, freakishly accurate. And so we'll see what comes out of this one and maybe give us a little bit more insight into who Audrey was, how she saw the world. I think that's going to be an awesome thing to watch tonight, and I'm really looking forward to it. Rottweiler says, I wonder if there's someone she looked up to that got her into queer activism, because she said she was queer before writing She Didn't Deserve to Live. That's a good question, Rottweiler. I think the thing is that it's difficult for me to... You know, I know people want to blame this on the school system. Like I even had people in my replies on Twitter going like, obviously she was exposed to this stuff through books in the library, Carlin. And I was like, there's actually no evidence that she was exposed to this stuff via books in the library. There's no evidence that she was exposed to this stuff in school, although I think we can, you know, kind of assume that maybe she probably was, but she doesn't talk about it being exposed to it in school. She doesn't talk about having a mentor. She doesn't talk about the book Genderqueer. She doesn't talk. We don't know. Here's the too long didn't read. We do not know how she got exposed to these ideas. We don't know. We can maybe make some guesses, but ultimately we don't know. And I like to deal in receipts and reality on this channel. I don't like making things up. I don't like saying, well, it was probably this, or it's probably that, or is that probably that other thing. I think that is just conspiracy theory in the making. And it honestly keeps everyone else unhinged from reality as well. So we don't know how she was introduced to these ideas. We don't know when she was introduced to these ideas. We don't know where she was introduced to these ideas. We don't know. The fact of the matter is that queer Marxism, queer theory, gender ideology has been in the public school system for at least 15 years, if not even longer. It's been around for a long time. So it's entirely possible that even though she was older, it's entirely possible she was introduced to these ideas in school. We just don't know if she was. So maybe more information will come out about that. We don't really know. Anyway, I put the link in the chat if you would like to follow along. And I want to do a special shout out to people watching on Rumble and Kick. I appreciate you guys. Please make sure you're following or subscribed. I think, yeah, this is kind of what I think. I think probably if I had to guess, and again, I don't like to guess, but if I had to guess, I would say that it's probably most likely that she was introduced to these ideas on the internet, on like Tumblr. Tumblr is like a gateway for a lot of this stuff. And so that would be my guess. But we don't know. We don't know. See, this is going to be your typical conservative. What is it? So what is like? There's a webcam right in front of me, bro. There's a webcam right in front of me. There's no filter. It's a fucking webcam. What is it with these conservatives? Like, I promise you, this person's a conservative. What is it? Like, can someone please explain this to me? We're actually talking about a serious topic right now. We're doing a serious analysis, and this is the analysis that conservatives have. You're fat. Your webcam takes weight off you. Maybe I just weigh what I weigh, bro. Did you ever think of that? There's no catfishing. There's a tiny little webcam right here. It's pointed right at me. It's pointed right at me. Do I even need to make it larger? It's pointed right at me. Are you not entertained? Are you upset that I don't look fatter on camera? I'm on camera 6 days a week, conservatives. Are you not entertained? Fucking retards. Let's just block him. There we go. Back to this. Back to this. As a conservative, that's a lot of projection. They see fat as a moral failing, and yet they themselves are usually fat, short, and unattractive. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Perpetual jobbers, indeed. Every time. Every time. Every time. Every time. Anyway, let's get into this. So here is the first page of this. Where are you reading this? Hang on. Where are you reading this specifically? I'm reading online that she was receiving mental health treatment at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Is this true? I have not read that, but I don't know. Where did you read this? I want receipts. I have no idea if that's true or not. No, I promise you that was a conservative. I promise you that was a conservative. We've learned to detect them rather aptly. So here's one of the first pages of the manifesto. Why does my brain not work right? Because I was born wrong. This was one of the first parts that really stuck out, where she's talking about, well, it says, can't butt sex a beautiful young brown girl with a big ass and small asshole. If I had a penis, it'd be big and rock hard, and too bad I am a sad boy born with a puny vagina. It's a little graphic, but I think we get the point. She wants to fuck black girls. She likes black girls. And for some reason, like, has anyone else seen this? This is the thing that conservatives online are focusing on most. Not actually that she's talking about fucking black girls in the ass, but that she likes black girls. That apparently the Nashville Shooter liking black girls is the most offensive part of this manifesto to conservatives. Yeah, I think it does kind of seem like she's sex obsessed. And I mean, maybe if she was on hormones, maybe that's the hormones. Here it says, I will be of no use of love if I don't have what they need, boy's body and male gender. So this is one of the times where she's basically saying, and this is why I think she's a lesbian, she's basically saying, girls aren't going to like me if I'm not a boy. I don't have what they want. Girls want me to be a boy. I'm not a boy. Major blow to girls. I'm a boy that has no penis. This is the part where she specifically talks about identifying as queer. And I hate society because society ignores to see me. I'm a queer. I am meant to die. I mean, it was pretty obvious to me in reading this that there was absolutely, like, probably clinical depression going on with her. She talks about dying for literally years leading up to the school shooting, so Here it says, so now in America, it makes one criminal to have a gun, to be transgender, or to be non-binary. So she's specifically referencing non-binary. In this section, she specifically mentions radical politics. When anytime someone says radical politics, when they're obviously on the left, that is a reference to Marxism, socialism, queer ideology. So it's pretty clear to me that she was exposed to queer ideology at some point. Soon this goddamn country will turn out no fun like England or Europe, no guns, no gender rights, no freedom of speech or pursuing radical ideas, no mischief. You can't even carry a knife in English, fucking pussies. Oh, she has 20 more of these journals? Those would be interesting to see. I mean, I was really looking Human Centipede. I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if we literally found a line from like one of the Mary Nardini gang things? And maybe she's not directly saying this is the Mary Nardini gang, but she's quoting the Mary Nardini gang and she's just writing it because she's read it at some point. That would be really interesting to see. Can someone find a link to me to this story where it says that she was treated at Vanderbilt? The reason I ask is that she obviously does not like her parents. And she specifically said, like, my parents would never get me treatment. My parents just told me don't worry about it. You're going to see this later in the manifesto. So does anyone have a link to that or can point me to that? If you can't put a link in the chat, like DM me on Twitter or something and let me know. This one says, so now because of you, I wish death upon myself, because of the pure hatred of my female gender. With no rights, anyone's country is a shitty dictatorship. Southpaw, thank you for the super chat. Do you think this and the other journals are suppressed for political reasons, or is it just legalism? I've noticed male shooters get released fast. I think it's pretty clear that these were suppressed because, well, she's trans. Or was presenting as trans. I think it's political. They didn't want they didn't want a trans mass shooter. This part says, I was called woman, lady, and ma'am, all in the same day. I hate everything about my gender. Everything hurts. You can almost hear that It's Ma'am video in the background. Thank you, bot. All right, let's look at this. Let's look at this article. From the Tennessee Star. Metro Nashville Police Department learned Covenant School shooter Audrey Elizabeth Hale was a 22-year-old patient of the health professionals at Vanderbilt Medical University the same day she orchestrated her devastating attack, claiming the lives of 3 9-year-old students and 3 adults working at the school. The Tennessee Star obtained on June 1st, 2023, affidavit filed by the Metro Nashville Police Department detective to obtain a search warrant for Vanderbilt University Medical Center. From a source familiar with the Covenant investigation, the Star has obtained the search warrant itself. In the affidavit, the detective explained that the Nashville Police Department obtained a folder with Hale's partial medical history while searching her parents' homes that reveals Hale's mother advised detectives that Audrey had begun receiving psychological treatment at the hospital and had been for some time. So this doesn't say she's on hormones. According to the affidavit, when detectives processed the folder containing Audrey Hale's medical records, it was clear that Audrey Hale had been receiving psychological treatments from Vanderbilt Psychiatric Hospital since 2001. So I have some questions for the people who treated this person, because to me, this seems as though if she had had competent mental health care, this seems like it could have been a completely avoidable situation. So I have questions. Later in the affidavit, it implied Hale began receiving treatments at Vanderbilt on April 23rd, 2001, when she was just 6 years old. The detective also raised the possibility that Hale confided her violent fantasies or plans to a therapist or psychologist. In the affidavit, the detectives wrote, He believes there's a strong possibility that Audrey Hale confided to a Vanderbilt psychiatric hospital staff member since she had been receiving care since 2001. Okay, so we don't know what type of care she was receiving. Additional documents reviewed by the Star indicate Hale, a biological female who identified as transgender at the time of the attack, was under the care of both a psychiatric and a psychiatrist and a therapist prior to her death. Yeah, I have questions about the people who treated her. Everyone failed this person. Here we see her talking about autism. Male brain equals my autism. So she is specifically saying, is it my autism that is making me believe I'm a boy? Is it my is my autism related to my belief that I'm a boy? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Shit. I was actually identified as a male today, and it felt right, but embarrassed. She had a lot of misspellings in her thing. Of my female body, I should not be in this body. I think it said she was 22 in the article. The guy who runs the comic shop is cool and has friendly customer service skills. He really knows his stuff and treats all the guys fairly. I like being called bud, bro, and man. It just is directed 100% accurate to who I am as a guy inside. If all other men and boys could see me that way, that my body doesn't make me a female. My body in me exists only to me. I'm just damn tired of being called and identified by a gender I am not at all. And you can see here she signs it Aiden. At least I don't have big boobs or a butt, but yet I hate having boobs at all. They might have grown just a bit and I want to die. Here we've got herself. She's got a drawing here where she's in her female body and she comes out. She sheds the female body cocoon and the male with the penis comes out like a butterfly. Bot, can you go find this story for me, please? And put the link in the chat. The cocoon of my old self will die, and I leave my body behind, and the boy in me will be free in my butterfly transformation, the real me. If God won't give me a boy body in heaven, then Jesus is a faggot. Let's see right there. It's got an upside down cross. I need a trans doctor. This female gender role makes me not want to exist, to be completely gone in physical form, off the face of the earth, die. And then she's got her name written, like the Aiden name written big there. Here she references autism again. My therapist now is the best I could get for help. My autism. It's got the puzzle pieces, tears. Thanks, Bob. Let's take a look at this article real quick. Covenant killer Audrey Elizabeth Hale avoided commitment on 3 separate occasions. Her parents told Metro Nashville Police Department investigators on June 12th interview. The transcripts reveal Ronald and Norma Hale told investigators doctors wanted to commit her daughter for inpatient treatment over an eating disorder, and Audrey Hale was twice considered for inpatient commitment after she expressed suicidal ideation to mental health professionals. Ronald Hale first divulged that his daughter suffered from an eating disorder and required medical intervention in 2017 after he explained their relationship was lukewarm but not hostile. Specifically, the eating disorder was discussed after Ronald Hale explained his daughter once cussed him out because he made pizza after returning home from work. I never cussed her out, but she cussed me out on occasion, explained Ronald Hale. One memorable occasion was when I was hungry. So it was just about eating disorders. Okay. She's got a bunch of pages where she's writing this story called My Imaginary Penis. My imaginary penis. My penis exists in my head. I swear to God I am a male. I think about sexual fantasies like how if my dick was real, I'd fuck that girl I love in the ass. I want to know what that's like, but I never will because I was damned to be born this way. I swear to fuck I hate it, so goddamn something that I couldn't read. It's a fucking curse. Yeah, there doesn't really seem to be any evidence that she's on testosterone. There's no, like, I have not seen any evidence of that. The torture of being raised a girl and actually believe I had to deal with it and tried to be feminine. But that didn't last long after high school ended, and no longer I had to fear being called a dyke or a faggot. It was only until my early 20s that I finally found the answer. That changing one's gender is possible. So here is why I don't actually think she was introduced to this in school. I think she got introduced to this on the internet. I'm going to bet she got introduced to this on Tumblr. It was only until my early 20s that I finally found the answer. She wasn't aware of this in school. That changing one's gender is possible. But no fucking no, not with my mother. What she believes, how she grew up conservatively, that LGBTQ, especially transgender, was an enigma, nearly non-existent. I may have told her once that I wish I was a boy when she made me put a shirt back on as a kid and say, "You're a girl, that's how you were born," or some kind of bullshit like that. It made me mad because being a boy when I was a kid was when I felt most myself. A 4-flat chest made me free. Puberty imprisoned me, and so does my mind. Puberty equals life sentence. Obviously, I have typos in here. I was doing this really fast, guys, so please excuse any typos. I was doing this fast, and I was retyping everything, all right? I'll go in and fix them later. So she believed that puberty imprisoned her, and her mind imprisoned her because she was born differently. You found her autopsy bot? Okay. Parents like them who think of themselves first and their preferences of conservative religion say shit makes them believe that the child they're given should stay that way. Even if transgender treatment was discovered and tested during my time, I know how the situation would have turned out. My mother would have not paid 1 cent. Children who were able to successfully take puberty blockers and it never entered a tortured puberty. That's actually how she spelled it, tortured. Never entered a tortured puberty. Those little faggots don't know how good they fucking have it. I kill to have those resources. 2007 was the birth of puberty blockers and a newfound discovery for treatment of non-conforming transgender children. 2007 was when I was in 6th grade. Puberty already hit me. The only reason I could conclude why it didn't bother me too much is that my boobs were small, and I thought they'd stay that way forever. My autistic brain, changed in body, fucked me over now, even if my boobs are small for the most part. And this is well, this is her talking about using her dolls in some form of sexual fantasy. This is not safe for work. If you're at work and you're like, please make sure you have headphones in. Okay, is everyone warned? Not safe for work. All right. You've had ample warning. Toy sex, my imaginary penis. I can pretend to be them and do things boys do experience with their dicks. My boy self. Laura, do you have evidence of that? Hang on before we do this. Laura, do you have evidence of this? Is there evidence of this? If there is not evidence of something, please stop posting it. If you have evidence, then tell us where you have the evidence from. But if there is not evidence of something and you're just guessing, that's not helpful. I can pretend to be them and do things boys do experience with their dicks. My boy self is Tony. My stuffed boy doll is like the boy I am in another form. I constructed for him a penis, then got out my girl doll named Ashley, who is Tony's lifelong who's Tony's lifelong boyfriend? Hang on, is that what that says? Yes, who is Tony's lifelong boyfriend. See, this is what happens. This is what happens. Every time. Every time. Permanently banned. Goodbye, asshole. I constructed for him a penis, then got out my girl doll named Ashley, who is Tony's lifelong boyfriend, to have sex with Tony. Ashley was represented as any dream girl I wished to have in real life, and Tony is me. Having those intimate relationships with a beautiful girl. Tony is a boy, inside and out. Ashley is a girl, inside and out. Two straight lovers who are in full nature of themselves by awareness. I let Tony fuck Ashley in the ass and stuff Tony's big penis in aggressively into her asshole. It took several attempts for Tony to put his dick in her vagina because he has a big dick, and it was even bigger since he had an erection. Finally went in and Ashley cried and moaned for a good 10 minutes. Tony humps slow and something from vaginal sex. In butt sex, he humps speedily and hard, Tony grunting with all his strength. Then after I fucked Ashley for a good 10 minutes, Tony is me, then I let her suck his dick and touched his erect penis. After that, they wrapped each other in their arms and legs as a sloth hugging a tree. After love they made gracefully, sat side by side, holding hands, surrounded by the scattering of their clothes. I took pictures of their sex positions. My penis was hard for hours, rock hard as a Flintstone. Hours making cloth penises for my boy beans, only to realize I missed the gym. They closed at 7. Well, this is news, Tayton, so it is what it is. Yeah, you walked in at an interesting time. Yeah, you did. So there you go. There's some more sex in that page, but that was what I transcribed. But this is interesting too. She was an incel. She was a femcel. Life of a virgin fag. No sex in real life. No love in real life. Resort to cartoon porn or let my stuffed animals fuck. This cartoon porn thing is another reason why I think she probably got introduced to this stuff via Tumblr. Because that's how people get introduced to this stuff. It comes from Tumblr. The cartoon porn stuff comes from Tumblr. So, incel confirmed. Here's where she's talking about her name. Just AE, not Audrey Elizabeth. I don't like that name. Never did, never will. I want my massacre to end in a way that Eric and Dylan would be proud of. So specifically referencing the Columbine shooters. And then this is the big day where she's going to do her thing. Death Day. Today is the day. The day has finally come. I can't believe it's here. Don't know how I was able to get this far, but here I am. I'm a little nervous, but excited too. Been excited for the past 2 weeks. There were several times I could have been caught, especially in the summer of 2021. Summer of 2021, by the way, is when she was under treatment at Vanderbilt. None of that matters now. I'm almost an hour and 7 minutes away. Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. My only fear is if anything goes wrong, I'll do my best to prevent something of the sort. God, let my wrath take over my anxiety. It might be 10 minutes tops. It might be 3 to 7. It's going to go quick. I hope I have a high death count. Ready to die. You can see that? She's got a picture of a gun with flowers on it. And then we get to the last page. Remember me for the good things. Heart, Audrey. And again, I don't think she actually thought she was a boy. I just don't. Southpaw said it sounds a bit like she felt committing a school shooting would make her more of a boy. I don't think that's why she did it. I don't have that read on it. I think that she repeatedly says that she felt ignored in real life. She felt like society just like ignored her. And I think that committing a school shooting was a way that she would be remembered. I don't think it had anything to do with her being a boy. We don't have any evidence of that. Bod has been looking over her autopsy. It just says, none detected. They tested for 12 drugs, not even cannabis in her system. So, no testosterone, no SSRIs, none of that other stuff people were putting in the chat, no antipsychotics. No, Laura, I specifically asked you to stop making shit up. There's reasons that I ask you guys not to make shit up. Because we have evidence, we have receipts, we can just go and find out what the real thing is. She wasn't looking bad. Looking a pretty woman who was into women would appreciate her. Damn, so unfair to... Yeah, I mean... I want to take a look at this this comment from Van Life Groiper over on Twitter, just because Van Life Groiper read the whole manifesto too, and I didn't get a chance to read their comment before I went on the air, so I want to see what they had to say about it. Honestly, I'm surprised by the content of the Audrey Hale Tranifesto. I'll give it too long didn't read for those who don't want to read 90 pages of messy, deranged handwriting. Yeah, the manifesto was a lot. And again, you can download this on the Substack if you want to. I'll show it to you guys. Like, the manifesto was a lot. It was like 90 pages. It's got pictures throughout it. I just picked out the parts that I thought were the most pertinent, but they weren't necessarily like the only parts. Rottweiler says she seems also quite emotionally stunted like other queer activists we've seen, and if she was also mentally stuck in the moment she came out as queer. Well, yeah, but I would say that might have to do with the autism more than the queer stuff. I mean, I don't know for sure. I don't think any of us know for sure, but I would say that that probably has more to do with the autism. A very interesting and sometimes poetic read. I was expecting some kind of long anti-Christian screed, but it didn't amount to that at all. Yeah, that's actually correct. There were some mentions of Christianity in it. Basically, the only mention of Christianity that I really remember was when she was saying, there's no way my parents would have gotten me trans health care because they were Christian and they were conservative, and that's not going to work. More along the lines of a desperate, mentally ill autist, lesbian incel, yup, we agree, because of said autism, fell for the transgender propaganda hook, line and singer. Well, it's not even just because of the autism. It's like the thing with autistic kids is that they become hyper fixated on things, right? And so if you've got like a mentally ill, like depressed, autistic lesbian that somehow, probably through Tumblr, got introduced to gender ideology on the internet, they're going to become hyper fixated on it. They're going to say, this is the cause of all my problems. This is the cause of all my pain. So it's the hyperfixation piece caused by autism that I think is the biggest problem. She acted out her transgender fantasy in the form of having her stuffed animals sodomize each other and pretending she was the male stuffed animal, true. Lots of resentment towards her parents for not affirming her delusions about being a boy trapped in the body of a girl, true. No mention of direct motive for choosing Covenant to carry out the massacre of innocents either. She wrote a small passage on how she was no longer practicing the religion of her youth, Christianity, and didn't think her parents would sway their children to religion, though. The reason I think the official release of this document was withheld was to hide the identity of Audrey's obsessive love interest, Paige, often mentioned as PAP, classic unrequited love story, but with some transgender derangement added in there. Audrey thought she would be able to be with this Paige in heaven, where she would be given a male body, or Jesus is a faggot, she wrote. She repeatedly wrote about her doomed love of Paige and how it was driving her to madness that she could never have a relationship with Paige. Transgenderism is, without any semblance of a doubt, weaponized to recruit autistic. Yes, this is very, very true. Transgenderism, well, it's not transgenderism as much as it is queer theory. But what they try to do is convince autistic kids that they're queer. The ability to discern truth from fiction and propaganda from fact is compromised, easily taken advantage of. Transgender people do not exist. They are merely mentally ill, receiving the opposite of treatment in the form of puberty blockers and affirmation of their obviously undiagnosed schizophrenia. I'm not sure I would say undiagnosed schizophrenia, but I have a doctorate in a medical field. Oh, I didn't know. See, Van Life Graper has a doctorate? I didn't know that. Shit. And I encourage all fellow medical professionals to finally take their stand against transgenderism and call it what it is schizophrenia. I don't know about that. I don't know about all that. But I do know that there are specific mechanisms designed to kind of like recruit autistic kids. I just want to play a couple things that we found over the past couple years for people who might be new. Maybe people are watching that have not been introduced to this. Guys, we've gone inside, in my community, we've gone inside several queer autistic trainings. Let me just play you a clip from them. So this is a training that we went inside, sponsored by the Community Colleges of California. This was back in May. This was a taxpayer-funded LGBTQ plus summit on healthcare, on queer liberation. And you can see the presentation. The presentation that we listened to is called Queering the Spectrum, the Intersections of Neurodiversity and LGBTQ plus Identities. This is the person giving it, they, she. And I just want to play you a clip where they are specifically talking about autism as a gender identity.
Oh, so there's a highest trans autism correlation in AFAB folks. So statistics range depending on which study you're reading, but about 15% of autistics identify as transgender.
AFAB means assigned female at birth. 15% of autistic adults identify as transgender, especially non-binary.
21% of AFAB, anybody not familiar with AFAB, it's assigned female at birth. AFAB autistics report a trans identity, 21%, and 96% of those identify as non-binary. So 21% of AFAB autistics are trans, 96% of those are non-binary. It's me! Look, I'm part of a statistic. It's exciting. Yeah, it's very interesting. So autistics are inherently queer a little bit biologically, and that's just the biology of us. So there's a term for some of us that we identify with, which is autogender. It's a gender identity in which one feels their gender is connected to their autism. And there's a lot of relational evidence for this, that our sex characteristics, our biology is a little bit different than a typical person's. And so it's makes a lot of sense for us to identify specifically as autogender. For some autistic folk, if you ask them, are you transgender, yes or no? And they identify as non-binary, they're going to say no, because we tend to be very literal, right? And the literal Latin definition of transgender means a journey across, going from one to the other. And for me, I identify as non-binary, and I felt guilty identifying as trans for so long because I'm not going to the other side. I'm just a weirdo. I'm just going to stay in the middle and be a little weirdo. And people were saying, like, you're being transphobic by not identifying as trans. And I'm like, but I'm not going on the journey. I'm just being a weirdo where I am. And it was hard for me to do that. So I would say instead of asking, are you transgender? Ask, how do you relate to your assigned gender expectations? Or do you identify comfortably as the gender you were assigned at birth? Right? Because the literal ones amongst us, like, I still have trouble with transgender because I'm not going on a journey. So I would say be careful how you ask those questions if you want to be inclusive of our rigidity sometimes that we can get into.
So you guys hear that? She said autistics are inherently queer. Not trans. Not trans. This is why, guys, again, people have got to start learning the difference between trans and queer. Please start learning the difference between trans and queer. I have this article on the Substack. I posted it last night. Trans and queer are not the same. Trans and queer are not the same thing. Gay and queer is not the same. Lesbian and queer is not the same. Queer is a far left radical political ideology. There are no conservative queer people because queer is a far left radical political ideology. That's all it is. You do not have to be gay or trans in order to be queer. All you need to do is declare that you are. They are teaching autistic kids that they are queer. They are indoctrinating autistic kids into a far left gender ideology because that helps the autistic kids to rationalize why they feel weird, especially during puberty. So, no, this shouldn't be called. I kind of fundamentally reject all of the conservatives that are saying this was a trans mass shooter. This was a queer mass shooter. I'm sorry, this was queer. This was an autistic lesbian who was convinced that she was queer, convinced that she was trans because she found queer materials on the internet. Does anyone disagree with that, by the way? But let me know if you do. Like, I promise I might yell at you a little bit, but I probably won't yell at you that much. This was Audrey Hale was an autistic lesbian who convinced herself that she was trans because she got introduced to queer ideology on the internet, probably on Tumblr. She convinced herself that she had to be a boy in order to fall in love. She convinced herself that the only way she was going to be able to date women was that she was a boy. I'm going to be real honest. I don't understand why you support my work. I find you to be very distracting in my chat. The only reason I haven't banned you yet is because you do financially support my work, and so I feel some obligation to not be like a total dick. But I don't understand why you do. Since you don't seem to follow it, you don't seem to understand it, you don't seem to actually care about what we're doing, you don't take this seriously, you're on the left, so I guess I don't get it. But I want to stop seeing shit like this in my chat. And now that I've given you like a talking to, I'm going to expect that it stops. Yeah, she thought she was a femcel. She's attracted to girls, but was convinced she had to be a man to have a relationship, hence the need to transition. Transgender ideology ends up promoting a mockery of well, but this isn't, it's not trans. Bro, did you listen to a word I just said? This is not transgender ideology. This is queer ideology. Guys, as long as you keep conflating the terms trans and queer, the left is going to win. Let me just be perfectly brass tacks about this. Every single fucking time you conflate the terms trans and queer, you are handing the left a victory. You are giving the left what they want. They want you to believe that trans is about that this is about being trans, when in fact it's about being queer. The minute that you stop conflating the two and you start calling out queer theory for what it is, specifically, uncompromisingly, is the minute that you start making fucking trouble for the left. But every single time you guys buy into this and you say it's got to be trans, it's trans ideology, it's not trans ideology. It is queer ideology. It is queer theory. It is queer Marxism. Call it whatever you want. But stop conflating trans and queer. They are not the same. There are trans people who are not queer. There are no queer people who are not on the far left. There are absolutely trans people who do not buy into queer ideology. All right, our friend just got put in a timeout because he's arguing with me when he doesn't need to be. Offensive saint, seriously? Seriously? Bro, come on. Come on. Yes, this is true. When queer Marxists say trans, they don't mean transition, they mean transcend or transform. Exactly. Nope. No. 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 Transgender is not a symptom of queer ideology. No. Wrong. You do. How many times do I have to say you do not need to be trans to be queer? You can be a straight cisgender white man and still be queer. You do not need to be trans to be queer. Should I just sit here and repeat this? You do not need to be trans to be queer. How many times do I have to repeat it? You do not need to be trans to be queer. This is not correct. You've been around long enough to know better. Would like to be educated on queer theory? I have a bunch of queer Marxism training on my channel. I have stuff on the Substack about it. We can talk about queer theory anytime you guys want. Justice being in the LGBT umbrella doesn't make someone queer. I'm a capitalist bisexual man. Yep. Got it. It's confusing because, well, yes, but you're right about this. It's confusing because virtually every conservative influencer talks about trans ideology, but almost never. You know what? You're absolutely right. This is why I rail on conservative influencers all the time. They are the ones causing the problems. They are the ones causing the confusion. Conservative influencers are the biggest problem that we all deal with. They're the biggest challenge. Conservative influencers are the reason that no one is educated about this stuff, that no one understands what's going on. I completely agree. It's not your fault. But what I will say to you is that now you know that trans and queer are not the same. Stop listening to people who are calling it trans ideology. Listen, you guys can listen to whatever influencers you want. I will never tell people who not to listen to. But what I will say is, once you figure out that your influencers are lying to you, and they are lying, they're either lying because they want the clickbait outrage, or they're lying because they have remained willfully ignorant. But they have all the information available to them, and they continue to misinform their audiences. Once it is proven to you that your influencers are misinforming you and are not telling you the truth, stop fucking listening to them. Because if they're lying about one thing, how many other things are they lying about? The reason there is so much confusion and that the reason that the left will continue to win is because the conservative right doesn't know what the fuck is going on, because their influencers continue to lie to them. And because their influencers continue to lie to them, they have no idea what the real goal is. They have no idea what the real target is. The left operates completely unopposed because conservative influencers insist on lying to their audiences. If you understand that, then why did you say the opposite of it? Queer ideology seems to hijack a lot of terms and they co-opt them for their own purposes. Yeah, that's basically true. Basically true. Blair White is trans, not queer. True. No, you don't. No, you don't. You absolutely do not. False. Wrong. Whoever told you that lied to you, and you should stop listening to that person. I've been told that I'm queer. I have been told on multiple occasions by leftists that I'm queer. I am a straight, cisgendered, white female. I have never slept with women. I've never been trans in my life. I've never taken hormones, never done any of that. And I've been told multiple times by people on the left that I'm queer because I don't adhere strictly to gender stereotypes. So don't tell me you have to be trans to be queer. I've literally been told by leftists that I'm queer when I'm not. Is there a difference between binary and non-binary gender? The gender binary is men and women. The gender binary says that there are two genders, there are men and there are women. Non-binary means no binary. It means an unlimited form of genders. There are not two genders, there are an unlimited form. No, it doesn't. Wrong. Wrong. Bro, if you aren't here to learn, what the fuck are you doing here? That's just wrong. Listen, okay. You want to do this? Let's talk about what queer ideology actually is. We're going to go. This is towards a queerist insurrection from the Mary Nardini gang. I'm going to look up capitalism. Hang on, we're looking for a very specific part. This is the Queer Marxism Manifesto. You want to know what queer ideology actually is? We've reviewed this on the channel before. I'll just read you a little bit of it. Yep, this is the one I want. This is a section from the Queer Marxism Manifesto from the Mary Nardini gang. The perspective of queers with the homonormative world is a lens through which we can critique and attack the apparatus of capitalism. That's what queer is. It's an attack of the apparatus of capitalism. We can analyze the ways in which medicine, the prison system, the church, the state, marriage, media, borders, the military and police are used to control us and destroy us. Most importantly, we can use these cases to articulate a cohesive criticism of every way we are alienated and dominated. Queer is a position from which to attack the normative more. A position from which to understand and attack the ways in which normal is reproduced and reiterated. In destabilizing and problematizing normalcy, we can destabilize and become a problem for the totality. The history of organized queers was born out of this position. The most marginalized trans folks, people of color, sex workers have always been the catalyst for riotous explosions of queer resistance. These explosions have been coupled with a radical analysis, wholeheartedly asserting that the liberation for queer people is intrinsically tied to the annihilation of capitalism and the state. It is no wonder, then, that the first people to publicly speak of sexual liberation in this country were anarchists, or those that in the last century who struggled for queer liberation also simultaneously struggled against capitalism, racism, and patriarchy and empire. That is our history. You can find the entire manifesto, this is the Mary Nardini gang, towards the queerist insurrection, in the anarchist library. I've got a link to it on the Substack right now in Re-Education Series number 8, Why Queer is Not About Being Gay or Trans. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions about that? Because it's extraordinarily clear. When you actually read it, it is extraordinarily queer. The liberation for queer people is intrinsically tied to the annihilation of capitalism. Those in the last century who struggled for queer liberation also simultaneously struggled against capitalism. That's what queer Marxism is. It's not about being trans. Anyone can be queer. All right, you're right, so you know better than all of us, so now you're banned. Goodbye. We don't need you here. Yeah, I banned him. It took me a minute. Am I constructing this correctly to mean yes, being queer is a choice. Political affiliation is a choice. Hang on, I'll show you. You want to look at something else? Hang on. Hang on. No, that's not it. That's not what I wanted. Okay, let's do this. Queer. I'm looking for something very specific. This is it. Let's watch some clips. What queer really means, what you must know to understand Drag Queen Story Hour, etc., etc. Shit, is this the one I'm looking for? That's not the one I'm looking for, I don't think. Let's go here. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Shit. Well, these clips aren't going to be good for us to watch right now, but I would recommend going back and watching these clips, Mike. I don't think they're good for the stream right now, for reasons, but I would recommend going back and watching those clips. What is their idea of anarchism? Okay, so queer Marxists are anarcho-communists, okay? So there's two different types of anarchists, essentially. You could probably argue there's more, but for our purposes here, we're going to say that this is binary, okay? In my heart of hearts, when I'm not being a fascist on the internet, I am actually an anarcho-capitalist. I don't want the government to exist, but I want private property to exist. That's one form of being an anarchist. You do not believe in the government, you do believe in private property. That's not what queer anarchists are. What queer anarchists are anarcho-communists. So they don't want the government to exist, and they want private property not to exist. They want everything to be communized. So essentially they're Marxists, they're socialists, they're communists. That's what they mean. Oh yeah, for decades. Yeah, long time ago. Yeah, that's what we're saying. Exactly. Hey, Paul, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, I'll add another one to the goal. Substack goal. Thank you, Paul. You're the best. Breakthrough Mindset. Just finished the How to Speak Socialist course. Mind blown. It's like, see? See? Thank you for sitting through the whole thing, Breakthrough Mindset. See, I keep telling you guys there's a method to my madness. Guys, if you want to do the How to Speak Socialist course, what you need to do is go over to my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Go to this How to Speak Socialist section at the top. And then pinned right to the top here, what Breakthrough Mindset is referencing is the 4-hour on-demand crash course, How to Speak Socialist. And go to this page, and what you're going to find is there's going to be, this is the first class. There are 2 videos. They're about 2 hours long. There's How to Speak Socialist Level 1 and How to Speak Socialist Level 2. These are completely free. If you feel like donating money or buying a subscription to thank me for putting this stuff together, I would appreciate it. But basically what the How to Speak Socialist class is a collection of clips that we've found from far left trainings over the course of the last 3 years, put together in one nice little package where you get to see all the best stuff back to back to back, so you can really see how the ideas flow together, how they morph together, how they complement each other, how these people are incredibly consistent across their different groups. It is about 4 hours long, but as Breakthrough Mindset says, your mind will be blown when it's done. So I appreciate that, Breakthrough Mindset. Thank you. Why? Oh, I'll do another autistic thing in a second. Why is the word anarchism so deeply correlated with socialism and Marxist belief? Anarchy seems to be completely antithetical to what they're doing. Southpaw, that's a great question. The answer is that they want to abolish the capitalist state. So socialists want to abolish the state because they believe it's the capitalist state. They call it the capitalist US government. They want to abolish our current system of government. Now, they want to replace it with their own system of government. Make no mistake, just because they say they're anarchists doesn't mean they don't want a system of government, but they don't consider their system of government to be the state. They consider it to be more of like a loose, voluntary coalition of people that make decisions that impact the lives of everyone else. But they don't consider it to be the capitalist government, and so that's why they call themselves anarchists. Let me see. KB, for me, I'm going to come back to this. I'll show you guys some stuff that will blow your mind. If you're interested in the autistic stuff, like, just hang on 1 second. Let me get through some other questions in the chat, and I will show you some stuff that will blow your mind. Do you think the left enjoys when the right gets it wrong? Yes. Because it makes them seem bigoted? Yes. The left loves it when the right gets it wrong. That's why they never correct them. They just call them bigots, and they say, look, we were right about them. They just hate trans people. We were right about them. They just hate trans people. They use it against them every single time. Oh yeah, I blocked James Younger too. James Younger, who is the guy that lost his kid to his wife because his wife wanted to transition his kid and James Younger couldn't like save him from that. James Younger came at me on Twitter today and he was like, "You don't know the difference between queer and genderqueer." And I was like, "Retard, they're the same thing." James Younger, who, he knows all this stuff, right? Because you feel sorry for the guy. It's not that I don't have sympathy for the guy, that his kids got caught up in all of this. I really do. I do have sympathy for him. But when he's coming at me on Twitter to say, you don't know the difference between queer and genderqueer, and I'm like, bro, are you stupid? They're exactly the same thing. They're literally exactly the same thing. Mizakan tried to give him all these receipts, all this evidence. No, too stupid to acknowledge it. And so at some point you just have to say, bro, maybe if you actually understood the ideology that you were fighting, maybe you wouldn't have lost your kids. People think that I'm joking when I say people are going to lose their kids because conservative influencers are lying to them. People think I'm being extremist. No, James Younger literally lost his children because he does not understand the problem that he's fighting. And people might say I'm cruel for saying that. James Younger was like, how dare she bring my children into this? Well, guess what, bro? You are like the classic cautionary tale. You are literally the guy who did not understand what you were fighting because you didn't listen. And because you didn't understand the problem you were fighting, you lost your kids, and your kids are going to suffer, and your ex-wife is transing your kids, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it because you did not understand the problem that you were fighting. People can think I'm cruel all they want for bringing his kids up and saying, like, you may not, like, maybe, James, maybe had you bothered to take the time to understand what you were fighting rather than just spouting off conservative bullshit narrative on your Twitter account, maybe if you had understood the problem correctly, maybe you would have been able to save your kids. I am deadly serious when I say people will lose their kids because they do not understand this. And James Younger is an example of that exact thing happening. And he's still digging in his heels and saying, I know everything about everything. No, you don't. No, you don't. And now James Younger is putting himself in a position of informing other people and telling other people what's what. He still doesn't understand it. He has learned nothing. So fuck that asshole. I'm sorry. If you have learned nothing, then you get what you get. You get what you deserve. People can think I'm cruel all you want. Yeah, you're not being cruel, you're being real. James, on the other hand, did not waste any time going, yeah, well, that's exactly it. He had no problem coming after me, insulting me, like, like saying, like, oh, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Bullshit, bro. I'm not the one who lost my kids to this. You are. Maybe things would have been different if you had just sat back and actually learned something. But no, you had to dig in your heels like a conservative retard, and here we are. You get what you fucking deserve, man. You get what you fucking deserve. Parrot girl tattoo. So when someone comes at you with a bigot accusation, how do you turn the subject into the fact that it's Marxist ideology? Love you, parrot girl. Thank you for the super chat. Listen, man, I've been called every name in the book. I have been called a racist. I have been called an anti-Semite. I've been called a transphobe. I've been called a homophobe. I don't know how I can possibly be a homophobe. Gay men love me, and I love gay men. I think gay men are great. But at some point, first of all, you've just got to just let them call you whatever they want. Know yourself. If you're not hateful to other people, if you don't treat people badly on the basis of their identity, like, I don't judge people based on the fact that they're a different skin color than me. I don't judge people based on the fact that they're Jewish. I don't care if people are trans. I don't care if people are gay. I don't care about any of these things. But people are still going to call me that anyway. Anytime you speak out against this stuff, anytime you take a position against anyone that has a political motive, they are going to call you names to try to shut you up. And you always have to keep in mind, their goal is to shut you up. Their goal is to get you to stop speaking. Because they don't like your political position. They don't like that you're an adversary for them. So if I'm called a name, I say, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Call me whatever you like. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. Here's a video of me being right. Here's another video of me being right. Here's more evidence that I'm right. And I'll get my audience involved too. They'll start replying saying, Carlin's right, Carlin's right, Carlin's right, Carlin's right. Here's evidence, here's evidence. And it's just like, the only thing, when you find yourself in that position that someone's just insulting you, what you have to do is just like, know that you're not going to convince that person, because you never convince people on the internet. Like, internet debating is like such a fool's errand. You're never going to convince people on the internet that you're debating with, but you might be able to convince other people who are watching. So just use it as an opportunity to speak to other people who are watching. Or if you want to work out your aggression, God knows I do that as well. But you never have to buy in to any of the things that people call you. If you know you're a good person, just trust that you know yourself better than anyone on the internet's ever going to know you. And that's all that really matters. Influencers are more dangerous than queers. Yeah, totes. Totes. So I want to show you guys this. Who wants to see autistic sex education? Let's see. Did I go by it? Hang on. You guys want to really see some shit? If you were not following me in January of 2023, a year and a half ago now, let me put it in the chat. Let's go back and review autistic sex education. This was a private training that Kino and I infiltrated, in which an autistic queer person was educating sex educators about how to speak to autistic kids. And there's a lot of clips in this. Let me just set up my clippy clip thing so you can hear the sound. We're not going to watch all the clips. You guys can watch it on your own time. But here is where the autistic sex educator is talking about masturbation.
Okay, this is one slide when really I could do a whole hour and a half on masturbation. Is my absolute favorite subject to talk about. Any of my friends can tell you. So I love the word masturbation. It's one of my favorite words. In college, I did a sex and sexuality discussion group where we came up with as many slang terms for masturbation as we could. Somewhere there's a list. I'm happy to share it. But I don't just say stop touching yourself, or I think it's an important word to teach. I know a lot of adults who are friends of mine who can't say the word masturbation out loud. Good practice.
If you don't want to talk about masturbation with your autistic child, then Dylan Capit, who is the person that's doing the autistic sex education training, will happily teach your autistic kids how to masturbate.
If you are a parent again, this is my offer to like, I will happily come talk about masturbation with your autistic child. I've done it with many autistic children. It brings me a lot of joy. And it's kind of, if it makes you uncomfortable because you're like, I'm a parent. I am not that child parent, and I'm happy to do it.
Yep. Dylan particularly likes to teach autistic kids how to talk dirty.
If you did not come here expecting to hear me say words like dick and cock, I'm sorry, and you don't know me very well. But I think that you gotta, so use anatomically correct language. It is really helpful. No, I'm not saying teach kindergartners this, but when you are working with autistic folks who are like starting to get to an age where they're having conversations around sex, it's really important to teach them the slang terms for these body parts too, both so that they can recognize them and also so that they can just like use them in a sexual context. Like it's totally legitimate if someone wants to use penis to talk about their body during sex, but a lot of people use words like dick and cock, and maybe that's a little bit of a sexier word, and autistic people like have a right to to know that those are words that they use. My like inspiration for all the work that I do is a young man I've been working with for many years. I feel like his mom, I think, is here. And my favorite story about this person from recent years is that we were having a conversation around like, what if I want to have sex? What do I do? And we were on a walk, and he asked me, he was like, can I say to someone like, will you touch my member? And it took me a second to be like, what are we talking about? And then he was like, can I say to someone like, will you touch my member? And I was like, okay, that's not an inappropriate word to call your penis. Like that's a very normal, like it is definitely a slang term. But if you are in a situation where like you're about to have sex with someone and you use member, that's probably an unexpected word to be hearing in a sexual context. And, you know, here I like got to talk to him about how dick and cock are like words that a lot of people with penises use to talk about their bodies in a sexual context. So slang's important. I am happy to, if these are conversations you would not like to be having with your children, I'm happy to have them for you because they bring me a lot of joy.
If you don't want to have conversations about dick and cock with your children, Dylan will have them for you. Here's where Dylan says that 70% of all autistic people are LGBTQ, with 50% of them being trans. Okay,
this is my favorite statistic of all time ever, which is that 70% of autistics are LGBTQ plus, with 50% of that population being trans. 70% and 50% both round up to 100. Awesome, that's a huge number. What does that mean? This means that all autistic individuals need to be talked to and informed about queer and trans identities and how those folks have sex. This also means that if you are teaching sex ed to your autistic students, you need to be comfortable and competent in the subject of queer and trans issues, which a lot of people are not. Queer and trans autistic folks are even more likely, some articles say like twice, 5 times, whatever, likely to end up in trouble with a lot of things, contract STIs, have negative mental health outcomes, all things that are completely preventable with adequate sex education.
Obviously, your kids will learn about pronouns in autistic sex education.
I know a lot of people who teach pronouns by being like, people who look like this use this pronoun, people who look like this use this pronoun. And that's very dangerous. That's very dangerous to do. So instead, you have to ask, for example, I have a beard. So everyone and their mother assumes I use he, him pronouns. I don't. And you cannot tell what someone's pronouns are by looking at them. Teach singular they. People tell me that I don't know how to teach singular they to black and white, concrete, non-abstract thinkers. I'm sorry. I bet it's really frustrating. But also, you can do it. I think there are a lot of good, like some people feel like a boy or not a boy or a girl or both, or break down non-binary in some other way and explain that lots of people who identify that way use they, them. But a lot of people with all sorts of identities use they, them. But I really think it is 2020, whatever year it is, 23 now, maybe. It's time that we use they, them pronouns correctly for people who use them. It is not that hard. I'm not going to lecture all of you about it, but you can do it.
Let's see, what's next? Oh, autistic kids have to learn about porn, and they must learn where to find porn. Seriously.
Okay. Porn and cyber safety. Porn literacy. Porn literacy is important. I'm not a porn literacy expert, but I will tell you that in general, it means like teaching students things about ethical porn, where to find porn, ethical porn consumption. It also helps students get literally, if you break it down, it helps them get literate with porn, which like helps them understand that porn is not reality.
If we meet the super chat goal, I'll play the Penguin song. If we do not meet the super chat goal, I will not play the Penguin song.
No, like, I don't know, lesbian porn is very different than real life lesbian sex. And I did not know that based on the porn that I was watching until I started doing it. And that what you're watching is very different from what actually exists out there. I think everyone, neurotypical or neurodivergent, needs some porn literacy, but that, whatever. I think explaining the legal and safety issues associated with porn websites is very important. Be very clear about the legal consequences associated with porn. Those things vary by state. They are just really good to know. Also, like, young folks are sexting and swapping nudes. You might want to be clear with them about the laws around those things in their states as well, because there are risks involved. I am not here to tell you that nobody is doing it. I'm here to tell you that they are all doing it, and you should just have conversations around safety and the law and risk when you are having those conversations with them. But again, it is like a normal human behavior.
So I just want to point out, on this slide specifically, it says, show students where to find ethical porn, including some paid sites like OnlyFans. He was specifically instructing sex educators to tell autistic students how to use OnlyFans. As a reminder, everyone in conservative media was given this, and literally no one covered it. I was booked to speak on Fox News about this at one point, and then they canceled it, and they never rescheduled. So Fox News knew about this, The Blaze knew about this, Glenn Beck specifically knew about this, Daily Wire knew about this. Basically every conservative media outlet that I could possibly think of to contact knew about this, and none of them covered it. Not a single fucking one of them. Thanks, Bob, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Andrew comes in with a $50 super chat. Now we are just we are less than $25 away from the goal of watching the Penguin video. I appreciate it, Andrew. Thank you so much for that nice big super chat. Let me see. I saw some other questions. Yeah, we did end up watching that. It wasn't very good, to be honest. I don't know that it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. Let me just say that. When we first watched this, I had a meltdown as an autistic parent with an autistic kid. It was too much to absorb. I took a break and came back 2 weeks later. Yeah, this one was a lot. Thank you, Gordy. I appreciate it. Hey, we're not done yet. Wait till we get to the sex toys part, guys. Wait until we get to the sex toys part. Dylan really relates to kids. Dylan, who is a PhD student in education when this presentation was given, Dylan really feels like they relate to the kids.
I will also say that never have I related more to 14-year-old boys than when I was like 6 months on testosterone. There is a lot of emotional change happening during puberty. It is very hard to like regulate emotions during that time. So I think a lot of those conversations are really important to be having. Research that says kids are starting puberty younger is correct. So I think by like 3rd, 4th grade, these conversations are necessary because a lot of kids are starting puberty around that age.
Hey, thanks, Sid. Penguin song. Who else wants it? We are $9 away from getting the Penguin song, guys. $9 away from the Penguin song. If you've never experienced the Penguin song, well, you've missed out, and we will show it to you for $9 more on the super chats. Okay. it's important to understand that having an orgasm takes some getting used to.
Okay, puberty is very overwhelming. It was overwhelming to me the first time I did it, and it was even more overwhelming to me the second time I did it. I am not going to do it a third time. But there are a lot of sensations involved in puberty. Honestly, if we're thinking about it, like I will say it one time and then I will move on. But like sex can also be very overstimulating. Explaining to someone like I don't know, having an orgasm is kind of an overstimulating experience that like you might have to get someone used to. But okay, that's a separate conversation.
Let's see. Perhaps we should teach autistic children about sex toys. Who wants to teach autistic kids about sex toys?
Does the destigmatization around masturbation include sex toys? One of the people like next to me on the screen is someone who's on my close friends list on Instagram, where I post sales on sex toys literally at least once every 3 days. I'm like a huge lover of sex toys and supporter of sex toys across the board. Yes, I am a fan of like, let's talk about sex toys. Let's use sex toys. Let's use sex toys in sex. Let's use sex toys in masturbation. This is not my field, but there are so many physically disabled activists out there who talk about how sex toys are accessibility tools for sex. There are people doing really awesome work. Cripping Up Eva is a sex educator who is, you can follow her on Instagram, who like reviews sex toys based on their accessibility procedures. And yeah, I think that like I did not do 90 minutes on masturbation and sex toys, but maybe there's a follow-up to this that's 90 minutes on masturbation and sex toys, because like truly I talk about sex toys all the time with everyone in my life. I think they're so important. I think they're really important when you are like learning skills to have sex. I think they're really important masturbation tools for a lot of people. I think that, yeah, in general, I don't know. I live in New York City. We have a lot of awesome sex toy stores here. There are some really awesome ones on the internet too that are like very queer affirming and have a lot of really good disability tools. But yeah, I will type the name there. I think this is correct. Okay, someone's gonna have to double check me because now I'm guessing myself. Cripping Up Sex with Eva, maybe? Someone can Google it and put it in the chat for us. But yes, I like could talk for the next 13 minutes about sex toys, but I won't. But I think sex toys are very important. And obviously, like, you cannot purchase sex toys for your students. You will lose your job. But if you are the parent of an autistic young person, it might be like a conversation that is worth having and exploring. For people with all sorts of genital makeups, they are very important and helpful masturbation tools.
Let's see. What other clips do I have? Oh, parents are Dylan's least favorite people to deal with.
Okay. I know we have people on this call who are like, some are educators, some are parents, but I will give you, I'm an educator. So I'll come to you with like, when I'm like, hey, teacher, why are you not teaching your autistic students sex education? Here are the 3 top reasons I hear. 1, I don't talk about sex. It makes me uncomfortable. 2, I don't think my autistic students can handle it. 3, I'm scared of parents. I will tell you, I am also terrified of parents. So that one makes a lot of sense to me. They are my least favorite people to deal with, but I will talk a little bit about at the end about like how I handle parents on this call. This is not any sort of screw you to all of you. I'm sure you're wonderful parents, but as a group, parents can be very frustrating for educators to deal with. So I will just give you my like thoughts on dealing with parents based on what works for me. To this, so they are not here. But I will say that parents in general don't like thinking about their kids having sex. I have 2 really sex positive parents who like, I don't think they want to know what my sex life is like either. That's normal. Parents of autistic kids do sometimes have ableist bias about what their kids can and cannot understand, but it is really normal to like not want to be having conversations with your children around their sex lives. I think that's very like societally expected. However, if you are an educator trying to help parents understand that you do need to be having these conversations with their children, I think I frequently play the prevention card with like, listen, I understand it is hard for you to imagine your kid having this conversation. It is harder to think about your kid ending up in some sort of dangerous situation. And if you and I are going to prevent your kid from ending up in some sort of dangerous situation, here are the statistics on all the things that they are at risk for. Here's how we know that I can help by having this conversation. Parents don't really want negative outcomes for their students any more than you do. And sometimes will back down from fighting good sex ed if they realize that they are making sure that their kids are not at risk for things.
Yep. And once again, remember, everyone in conservative media was given this information and no one shared it. No one shared it. Let's see. Are there any other good ones? Oh, they had to dig at capitalism. Hang on. What was this?
So I will tell you that also the functioning labels come from harmful beliefs about capitalism based on what people can produce and contribute to society. And people are people, even if they don't produce things or contribute to society in your expected way. And it's irrelevant. I also think that, like, I tell people this all the time, but like no one functions the same way everywhere. If you can find me one person who is the same around their parents, their friends, and in the bar, like, please send them to me. I want to talk to them. People are different around different people. People are different in different situations. That's very normal. No one is high or low functioning all the time. I talk very specifically around like what people need in different places. That someone might have higher support needs somewhere, lower support needs somewhere else. Yeah, here's another easy glare video because
that was basically dig at capitalism. Oh, Dylan is a self-diagnosed autistic person. And here's why this is important, guys. This presentation was not just some random presentation. The reason I found out about this presentation back when I covered it is that this presentation was given as a keynote at the National Sex Ed Conference. That means it was given to sex educators all over the country in a keynote address.
Thank you so much for being here. I just gave this presentation at the National Sex Ed Conference in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and it went really well, and I got a lot of positive feedback. But as someone who like exists at like that are really financially inaccessible, and I want this information to be accessible to people.
Yeah. And Dylan thinks that because we infiltrated his training and we caught him and we recorded it. By the way, he tried so hard to get us to like not record his training. He kicked me out. Dylan actually made, when Dylan figured out that we were trying to infiltrate and record his training, he made everyone turn their cameras on. That's why everyone's camera's on, because Dylan thought that he was being attacked by right-wing lunatics.
I am going to do my like share of slides so I can talk off of. We've all been on Zoom for a billion years, that as soon as I share my screen, like everyone's faces go away and chat goes up here, blah, 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 blah. But someone on this call who I trust from work is monitoring both the chat and all of you. So please remain on camera and on your best behavior. And again, I'm sorry that we like had to change formats last minute. I will spare all of you the really insane website that was sent to me by several people today, sharing all of the horrible things that the right is going to do with this information. So I appreciate all of us adapting so that I don't have to end up attacked. But also, again, this is how that I know that I've made it.
And we still got him anyway. We still got in because I don't announce things publicly unless I have a backup plan. Anyway, that was the autistic sex ed training. That was in January of 2023. If you guys missed out on that, then you can blame conservative media, because I made sure everyone in conservative media had this fucking training. I made sure they all knew about it and none of them fucking reported on it. So I, to this day, am still the only person that's actually reported on this. I, to this day, am still the only person that has actually aired these video clips. And so I think I've gotten about 1 million people to see it on Twitter, which is cool. But like, seriously, guys, if you have kids, if you know people that have autistic kids, they really do need to see this stuff. You can find this on the Substack. It is up and available. It is also freely available on my YouTube channel. I have a whole playlist about this stuff. Please share this out with anyone that you know that has autistic kids, because conservative media is not going to do it, because they refuse. They absolutely refuse. Southpod, trans, kink, sex ed, LGBT, D&D, gaming schools. None of this was like this in the 90s. What makes certain groups susceptible to this over others? It's not certain groups, it's everything. It's not just certain groups, guys. Everything is being infiltrated by this. Every single thing is being infiltrated by this. And this is why it's so important for people to understand what queer ideology is. This is why it is so important for people to understand trans and queer are not the same thing. When people don't understand that trans and queer are not the same thing, that's what allows queer to get into all of these organizations. That's what allows it to take over. And so that's why I say the number one thing people have to do is to learn what the left is doing, to learn what's going on. I'm trying to do my very best to teach people that over on my Substack. Again, I'm working on the re-education series right now. People can read re-education number 8, which is why being queer is not about being gay or trans. Someone asked over on Rumble, where can you find the manifesto? Go to my Substack, go to re-education number 8, and then if you click this link, you can't see that because it opened in a new window. If you click on the link, this link in the article, that will take you to the Anarchist Library, which is where you're going to find Towards the Queerest Insurrection. That is the queer Marxist. I'm also going to be covering this. I kind of decided on this stream. I'm going to do a podcast about this tonight. We've already covered it on the channel. We've actually listened to the whole thing on the channel before. I've got a breakdown on the, I actually have a breakdown on the Substack. If you search for queer Marxist manifesto. Here it is. I actually do have a breakdown of it on the Substack inside the Queer Marxism Manifesto. So this is a video breakdown of the manifesto if people want to watch that, because we did it on the show. And you can find out more information there. We got a couple sections of it. You can watch the whole stream that we did on it, or you can just go read it yourself. I'll do a podcast about it a little bit later. But that's what we're doing over on the Substack, guys. And that's why I do ask for people, if you can support the work I'm doing by becoming a member of the Substack, a paying supporter, please go ahead and do so. It's $8 a month, $80 a year. My work is 100% funded by you. And so I can't do this stuff without you guys, because as you know, conservative media won't report on any of this shit. Why don't they report on it? I think I'm blacklisted by a lot of conservative media. I think that because they know that I won't stay. I'm not going to say what they want me to say, essentially, and they can't control me. And so I think that that's part of it. Also, I think that they just don't give a fuck. I think that they don't care. I think the only thing they care about is making money and getting clicks and outrage porn and all this stuff. They don't actually care what's going on in the world. So this is why people think I'm just doing this because, like, I'm bitter. Like, no, I think people actually need to learn this stuff. And normal people have got to start understanding that conservative media is not going to save you. Conservative media doesn't give a fuck. They don't care. They care about money. That's it. That's all they care about. It's entertainment. Most conservative pundits are failed comedians and failed actors. They're entertainers that couldn't make it in the entertainment industry, so they became conservative pundits, where people give them scripts and they read off the script and it's just entertainment. That's all it is. So stop expecting conservative influencers to tell you the truth. Stop expecting them to save you. They're not going to do it. I cannot even tell you. I cannot even tell you how many stories these people ignore. It's mind-boggling when you actually see it. When you see all the things that and I'll tell you what too. I told you guys, Fox News had actually booked me to come on Fox and Friends to talk about autistic sex education. And I was like, holy shit, they're actually going to report on something for once? Okay, cool. Then they canceled it. They never rescheduled the interview. And like a couple days later, I saw a story on Fox News come out. I swear to God, this was the headline in the story that Fox News felt was adequate to report on. It was, woman wears low-cut top to gym, gets ogled by men. That was a real story on Fox News. After they had refused to report on autistic sex education, after they had canceled my interview, within weeks of that, I see a literal headline on Fox News, woman wears low-cut top to gym, gets ogled by men. And that was my final fuck you moment with Fox News. That was it. I was like, are you fucking shitting me? I handed you autistic sex education on a goddamn platter. I handed you the whole fucking thing. You didn't report on that, but you'll report on a woman wearing a low-cut top to the gym? Fuck you. That's how I feel about Fox News. That's how I feel about The Blaze. That's how I feel about The Daily Wire. That's how I feel about almost every single... That's how I feel about Steven Crowder. That's how I feel about Tim Pool. That's how I feel about every fucking conservative pundit. Almost all of them. Not 100%, but almost all of them. They all suck. They suck. They really suck. Anyway. Yo, Dragon Balls! Let's make it 150. Maybe she'll play it twice. No, I don't want to play it twice. Why are you doing that to me? Why are you doing that to me, Dragon Balls? Anyway, guys, you have met the super chat goal, and I really do appreciate it. And I really do. Southpod, I think I just saw you signed up for the Substack. Hang on. Let's get Southpod. Just sub to the sub. Hey, thank you for subbing to the Substack. I really do appreciate it. Guys, I am trying to get 100 new paying supporters on my Substack by the end of the month. It sounds like we might be almost at 20, so that's really good progress. Please make sure you sign up, guys. It's $8 a month, $80 a year. You guys help keep me in business. Again, I will tell you stories and show you things literally no one else on the internet is talking about. And because we met the super chat goal, we are going to be playing the Penguin song. We are going to be, but I'm giving everyone fair warning, okay? Remember, this is not my last stream of the day. This is but my first stream of the day. I will be returning in a couple hours' time, and we are going to be listening to the Afterlife interview with Audrey Hale, the Nashville Shooter. This is going to be a channeled thing. This is a little bit woo-woo. This is my weekly Tuesday show called Disenrage, where we talk about spirituality and mindfulness and crystals and tarot cards and channeling and psychics and aliens and all that stuff, all the cool stuff that I really would like to spend more of my time talking about when I'm not talking about the craziest dystopian shit on the internet. But we are going to be listening to the channeled Afterlife interview of Audrey Hale later tonight at 9 p.m. And so if you want to come back for that, please feel free to do so. And now we're going to play out with the Penguin song. How many people here? No. Let's do the boner video tomorrow, Misa. Let's do the boner video tomorrow, okay? It'll be sometime this week, Mike. I don't know yet. But so who here has not seen the Penguin song or heard the Penguin song? Has anyone here not heard the Penguin song? So one in the chat if you have heard the Penguin song, 2 in the chat if you have not heard the Penguin song. Let me just get a sense of who's here. So what the Penguin song is this is a video that has been produced by an organization called Amaze. Amaze makes videos for elementary schools and middle schools. These videos are actually used in public schools all over the country. And the Penguin song is a song that uses cartoon penguins to teach kids how to be trans, to teach kids how to be non-binary, to teach kids about gender ideology. And it's catchy, and it will get stuck in your head. And so if you don't want this song stuck in your head for the entire rest of the day, now would be a good time to leave. I'm basically saying, like, there are people in my chat who never want to hear the Penguin song again. Now's your time to go. But for the people who do want to hear the Penguin song and have never heard the Penguin song, we're going to play it on the way out. Thank you guys for supporting the work I do. I really appreciate it. I will be back in a couple hours, or I will see you at 5 p.m. tomorrow for our next stream exploring dystopian hellholes. Have fun with the Penguin song, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, shit. Hang on. Stand by. Sound on. Sound on. Sound on. Okay.
No matter how you're born, we each have the style. I'll tell you in a while exactly what I like.
Ariana and Renee, they both are born girls. They go into their changing rooms. Ariana loves twirls. That's not for Renee. Pink will not do. All girls don't wear dresses, they wear pants too. Has Renee lost her mind? What's running through her head? Ariana can fix this, no is what she said.
When you put it on, you do a little groove. You know you've gotta move. That's how you know you've got it right. This is me, who I am. See me in full color, it's me like no other. Originality. No matter how you're born, we each have a style. I'll tell you in a while exactly what I like.
Bryce and Jason, they both are born boys. They go into their changing rooms. Bryce jumps out with joy. Jason has a different idea. The sweater is where it's at. Bryce has to fix this. Here, try this or that. Wait just 1 second. Don't tell him how to dress. Ariana knows this. Only Jason can express.
This is me, who I am. See me in full color, it's me like no other. Originality. No matter how you're born, we each have a style. I'll tell you in a while exactly what I like.
Darla and Charles, one girl and one boy. They go into their changing rooms. Charles is feeling coy. Others are thrilled with the look, but Charles is quite unhappy. Let's try this again. Yeah, this is snappy. Some are confused, they just don't understand. Charles, now Charlotte is certain Ariana's her biggest fan. Some might keep their distance, but others will come around. Come on over, Darla, show us what you found. Darla had something on, but is not quite convinced. She wants to try again, yet she still gives a wince. Nope, not right either. Why can't she decide? Sometimes it takes time, only she can find her stride. Darla presents an outfit. The new name is Darren. Now everything feels right. The person within he's sharing.
When you put it on, you do a little groove. You know you've gotta move. That's how you know you've got it right. This is me, who I am. See me in full color, it's me like no other. Originality.
Here we have Skylar, born a boy or girl. Not interested in the girl look. Won't give the boy look a whirl. Skylar wants a new path, and it isn't one of those. This is a unique look from Skylar's head to toe.
When you put it on, you do a little groove. You know you've gotta move. That's how you know you've got it right. This is me, who I am. See me in full color, it's me like no other. Original is me, who I am. See me in full color, it's me like no other. Originality.